I'm Diana Ransom. I'm excited to be joining you once again. We did a panel earlier, and happy Inc. Founders House. So I'm thrilled to be here. We're talking about the new metrics of success, and my fellow panelists today are Tiffany, in order here, Tiffany Dufu, who is the founder of The Crew and also president of the Tory Burch Foundation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Kay Koplovitz, who is like the grande dame of female entrepreneurship. Thank you for being here. She's the founder of Springboard Enterprises, USA Networks. I mean, the list goes on, and then rounding out our incredible crew is Elaine Welteroth. And we have, Kay has her sunglasses now, so we can begin. So,
Fab.
Elaine Welteroth is the founder of Birth Fund. Thank you so much for being here. So this is really fun. Let me just say one thing. We have a couple of housekeeping issues before we begin. So if you liked what you heard today and you want to share it on social media, use the hashtag #IncFoundersHouse. So please, and then we'll find you, and then we'll help amplify your message. Other than that, we are going to leave 5 minutes toward the end for your questions. So please think of a question for these incredible panelists. There's very rare moments when you get to ask a customized question of these incredible women. So please think of one. All right, let's begin. So as we've covered in Inc. and we talked about a bit earlier, women the last few years have been starting companies at almost nearly twice the rate of men. And the number has been higher for women of color too. So it's a lot to crow about and a lot to get excited about, but that's kind of where the good news ends to some degree. Venture funding is still very, very limited among female-founded companies. Kay, you were among the first actually to start tracking the flow of funding to female founders. Take us back to 1998 when you began looking into this and what's kind of changed since then.
Yes, when I was leaving USA Network, Bill Clinton, the president at the time, Bill asked me to chair the National Women's Business Council, which was really to report on the advancement of women in business. Actually, didn't float my boat. I wanted to get capital into women's businesses. So I started on a journey. I was back in San Francisco at the time on the board of Oracle, and I said, I've got to do something to get more capital behind women-owned businesses. This is my journey to take. I want to take it. It was really interesting to start off because I want to tell you, in 1999, when we got our first class, people said to me, women don't have businesses that venture want to invest in. And I said, well, let's find out. I don't believe that. Technology and life sciences, we went out to find companies. 350 applied. We chose 26 in the first class. They presented in January of 2000. 26 women got on a big stage at the Oracle Conference Center and presented. I know from the media, it's showtime. You're going to show or you're going to go. I know. And I was so proud of those women. And you know what happened? 22 got funded. 2 other companies merged. One woman sold her company for $100 million. Only one woman in that class did not get funded. And ever since then, we've been at it, building a network, because it is about the network. It's about entrepreneurs, investors, lawyers, accountants, business people. It's about people that can take you all the way to growth, scalability, and sustainability. From our perspective, that's the business we're in. And we know that this has had an impact. Today, let me just say something. I never knew I would be on this journey for 25 years. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. We're kicking it off right now. And I have a lot to say about the future, but I'm going to let my panelists speak. But I must say to you that we have to take aggressive approach to the future, because I am personally not willing to let women stay out there and say, women only raise 2% of the venture capital. I'm going to get into that later. But I will not permit women to be stuck for 20 years in the same little trough. So you are going to come with me, okay?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, that's an excellent segue. So obviously, you mentioned the 2% number. That number, it spikes pretty considerably when the founding team mixes in male co-founders as well. So it's not all bad news, right? At the same time, if we do keep seeing this 2% number, or I've even seen 1%, frankly, in 2024, so it's getting potentially worse. But so that's just disheartening, and it makes me wonder, like, should we be looking at other metrics? Like, obviously, there's a lot to crow about with women entrepreneurship. I'm looking out in the sea of female founders right now, and there's amazing stories and amazing stories of accomplishment, and you all should be very proud, but like, should we be looking at other metrics of success? Tiffany.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
Happy International Women's Day, everybody. This is one of my favorite days. My life's work is advancing women and girls. So outside of my kids' birthdays and my birthday, this is one of my favorite days. And I feel very, very honored to be here on this stage with Miss Kay, who has done so much to advance women and women's leadership and entrepreneurship. And with Elaine, who is our social entrepreneur here on the stage. Yes, we should be looking at different metrics. The Tory Burch Foundation is very committed to women's economic empowerment. We talk about investing in women entrepreneurs. You should know, if you have ever bought a Tory Burch bag, if you've ever bought a Tory Burch pair of shoes, a Riva flat, a dress, you have invested in women entrepreneurs. A percentage of everything that you buy goes to ensure that women entrepreneurs who are very at the early stages of their business, our first milestone is to get them past the $1 million mark in revenue, which is that first milestone that really leads to sustainability and that really leads to an enduring business. Because we're committed to women's economic power, we're interested in ownership. So we are not looking at some of the same metrics that we traditionally look at when we're thinking about who has potential when it comes to their business. In part because of the statistic that you just shared, a lot of women don't have access early on to the capital, which means that they have to have things like repeat customers, which means that they really have to look at their profit margin because they need revenue for their businesses. So we are looking at the companies that have a really great profit margin percentage. We're looking at the retention rate of their customers. We're looking at something that a lot of people don't look at, which is their community orientation. Kate Luzio is here in the audience, and she is the queen of partnerships. How are you making the boat bigger for more women entrepreneurs so that we can all thrive and so that we can all rise? But we're very interested in, as Rebecca Minkoff said earlier, founders that are in it for the long haul. We're not interested in the one-hit wonder. We're interested in enduring, sustainable businesses that are growing, but at a very slow rate. In all fairness to a lot of people, we don't have LPs that we need to return a fund to. We're a C3, we're a 501c3. But I think it's really important that we look at what is the impact that this entrepreneur and their business is having in the world. I think it's important that we look at how strong their business fundamentals are. And I think it's important that we look at who do they associate with, who do they surround themselves with, and are they partnering and figuring out ways to create larger ecosystems for their industry or for their area.
Yeah, and I love that. It's so inspiring. Elaine, having, in your situation, you are an entrepreneur, of course, but you also run a nonprofit. So to some degree, you probably share Tiffany's appreciation for other metrics, especially as a nonprofit founder. I mean, you have to showcase these metrics all the time. How are you looking toward that as you grow the Birth Fund?
Well, first of all, we're not even a year old yet. I started this organization April of last year while pregnant with my second child, who's now 4 months old. And one thing that thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm up here making sentences, you guys. I'm up here making sense. That is my metric for success today. No, but truly it's interesting. I think as a social impact entrepreneur that's working in the maternal health space, I am flipping the conversation of metrics on its head. I am interested in talking about the value of one life, the value of saving one mother's life. If I can save one mother's life, then I've done my work. And
Elaine,
I think,
tell us a little bit about the Birth Fund.
So what we do at the Birth Fund is we fund births for women and families who do not have access to quality, holistic maternal health care, specifically midwifery care, which is known to save 80% of the maternal mortalities, the maternal deaths in this country. 80% could be averted with midwifery care, and yet midwifery care is not covered by insurance. How wild is that? So when we look at the success of birthing outcomes in other countries all across the globe, what those countries are getting right that we are getting wrong is that midwifery is the default birth care model in all of these other countries. And in this country, not only is it not covered by insurance, but there is a deep-rooted stigma around midwifery care that needs to be deconstructed in order to help women see the life-saving benefits of it. But not only life-saving, joy.
Right.
Joy is a metric. When we're talking about birth experiences in this country, where 50% of mothers and families describe their births as traumatic. In the richest country in the world, y'all hear me? 50% of women are calling their births traumatic. So one of our metrics of success, on top of keeping mothers alive to raise the babies that they have sacrificed to bring into this world, is joy in childbirth, joy in their postpartum stage. And so it takes funding to make that possible for families who don't have access.
It sounds like you also need to talk about, it's about storytelling to a large degree too.
Absolutely.
So you need to be able to tell like the story about saving people's lives, and maybe that makes an impact on, you know, whatever donors you might raise funding from in the future.
100%. A really big part of what we do at Birth Fund, on top of raising money to fund births one-to-one, and I want to underscore the value of every single life, every single family. You know, when I was starting this, I remember coming up against some of the things that you're talking about around, like, you know, scale and metrics, and is this worth it? If I can't scale this in a year or in 2 years, is it still worth it? And what I came back to is our tagline, which is, you know, we are safeguarding families one birth at a time.
Yeah.
And the storytelling that we're doing around each of those families having safer, healthier birth experiences is what's going to create the catalyst for systematic change at scale, right? But it starts with every story, every mother, honoring their experiences and helping people see that there are alternative pathways to better, safer care in this country.
That's beautiful.
And so one of the metrics for success for us as well is around storytelling and narrative change around birth in general. We're not here just to fear monger. We're not here just to tell you you might die if you give birth in this country. We're here to show you and open up other pathways to doing birth in a safer way that feels more empowering.
Can I just say, I think there's and, because what Elaine is bringing attention to is a social problem that also I feel that business has a role to play.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we're doing, we're in the middle of our fellows selection process. The Tory Burch Foundation selects entrepreneurs every single year. We have one in our audience right now, DJ Lazada. Thank you. But one of the things that I was looking at, in part because of my conversations with you and the work that you're doing, were who are the entrepreneurs out there that are building businesses that are addressing maternal health. We have one in our portfolio now. Her name is Christine Revere. She's in Michigan. She has a company called Gold Coast Doulas that is working to ensure that more women have access to this kind of care. So I think it's really important that when we think about the metrics and how we're redefining women in business, that we think about how are you solving a business problem and a social problem simultaneously.
Hey, Kay, I'd love to have you chime in here. What are some things that we should be talking about instead of raising venture capital?
Well, I mean, it's the importance that women play in the world role. I mean, what we want to see developed in the communities that we have. You see around here, you walk around here, you see Canva, right? You see the sign? How many people use Canva out there, right? Canva's in our first class from Australia. You know, there are many companies, you know them, iRobot, Constant Contact, Zipcar, I could go on and on. AskBio, most recent IPO. Why do I care about this? I care that we live in a capitalist society, or at least we have been living in one. So, you know, money makes a difference, and people, we are creating the flywheel effect for the 238 M&A events we've had, 28 IPOs. These women are coming back and they're investing in other women. We got to create this flywheel effect so that people come back and support the people coming behind them. And that is really one of the driving forces behind also Springboard Enterprises, a nonprofit that actually works with people to get the funding that they need. So I'm just saying to this group, it's really important why women actually have sustainable businesses, whether that's a small business or a business to go. Our companies have created over 61 billions of values, billions with a B. So be forward as far as I'm concerned for women. Be forward. We're going for B. And we have lots of companies the companies are private still, valued over $1 billion. So $1 million to $1 billion. It's a journey. We're going on it together, right? Yes, we are. Yeah.
I love that. So I can't help but sort of think, like, I point the finger at the media to some degree. We talk about venture capital funding as, to some degree, a proxy for success. We talk about it as a proxy for credibility when we talk about the startups that we write about. So the media is, to some degree, maybe culpable. Elaine, as a former journalist, how do you feel about this? Do you agree?
Do I agree with? Sorry, I can hardly hear you.
You can't hear me? I was just saying I wonder if the media is partially responsible for, I guess, crowing about venture capital as much as we do.
Yes, and also, I mean, it's not the beat that I've ever covered. So what I can speak to is, through my time as a journalist, especially at Teen Vogue, I always have thought about each of us as cultural agenda setters. And what we can do with the power of our platform as journalists, but also as individuals who each have you each have a platform and you each have resources that you can invest accordingly. I think what we did at Teen Vogue was figure out how to talk about the issues that matter in our time and how to galvanize a community of people to recognize the power that they have to make a difference on the issues that matter. And I think very similarly in building Birth Fund, I've actually leveraged the media to tell stories that help humanize and otherwise what is considered falsely a fringe issue, which is around maternal health. And it's not necessarily a sexy issue. It's not well funded. It's not something that people lean into.
But it affects half the population.
But it affects, and everybody has a mother. So
I wanted to say something about the marketplace. When we started Springboard, there was not even 1% of the angel investors in the United States were women. Today, it's 47% of the angel investors are women. This shows a growing marketplace. Today, there were almost no VC women who ran venture funds. Today, 17% of the venture funds are run by women. And a lot of them are smaller funds, but they're growing up. And I really think it's really important for people to understand that this is a burgeoning market, that we can all have a place in it. So I think, there's a place for the social good that we're doing. There's a place for the small business marketplace. But you got to remember that money does speak in our economy and in the world today. And women who have and make money can invest in the money. And that's really what we're looking for, this flywheel effect to keep it growing and growing. We are not going to talk about 2% for women in venture capital for another 20 years because women founders and co-founders raised over 20%. And believe me, the women are leading the way. They're CEOs, and the men here, we love our men co-founders. So don't, be discouraged when we're talking about women. Diversified teams are the best and the strongest teams. So, that we see in the marketplace. So it's really important for people that we should talk about that more, about these diversified.
Yeah, I think that one of the misnomers, yes, is about the role that venture capital plays, but it's also about not understanding the role that quote unquote small business plays, because it's actually not small. Our economy is driven by what we refer to as small business. In fact, the vast majority of businesses are not the Nvidia or the Amazon or any company that's going across the ticker board at the bottom. And right now we're in an environment in which people are really hurting. I mean, this last election, the results of it are directly tied to people feeling that they're hurting. And they're hurting because the economic levers that we used to depend on in order to ensure economic mobility are being hacked away at. None of us ever had access to wealth transfer, but you used to be able to buy a home, and now you can't. You used to be able to save for retirement, and now you can't. Entrepreneurship is really the last lever of being able to attain economic mobility for your family. And so when we talk about investing in the underrepresented or the alternative or the non-VC backed founder, and I'll tell you, I am a founder who is VC backed, but at the same time, it's really, really important, I think, for us to shift the narrative and for us to really throw our weight towards something, by the way, that over 80% of Americans, according to Pew, agree on, which is that business is good for the country, particularly small business, and that entrepreneurs are a demographic of people that we should all be investing in, regardless of what they look like, regardless of their political persuasion. So I'm bullish on that, and I think it's very important that we think about really redefining who's contributing to our economy, who's contributing to America through the businesses that they're creating.
You're here.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we have time for maybe one or two questions. If anyone in the audience have a question? Nate, do you? Lady in the back.
Hi, my name is Lydia Simmons, and I'm the CEO of Motherosity Health. If you haven't heard of our app, we have a 52-week app that chronicles the recovery journey for postpartum moms, starting with day one, all the way up to 365 days. So you guys are speaking my language. I live in that world, and I'm just glad to hear you here, have you here, just championing for something that is a cause of everything that I do every day. My question for you is, for businesses like mine that are considered small, though I am a second-time founder, what do you consider to be cause for concern with businesses in their scaling years or their scaling period that are not making the traction that they want to make? When is it a cause for concern? I heard you say, Elaine, that we're one a day, we're one birth, one mom, one situation a day. But when does that become something that we need to aim higher for, that we need to increase the volume on for the business?
Well, I'm in a nonprofit space, so it's definitely different, but I would love to connect with you to see if there's synergy around the mothers that we serve and the services that you provide. I'm going to leave room for you all to jump in here to speak directly to kind of a for-profit business, but I will just say, we raised over $2.2 million around what we're doing in the social entrepreneurship space in under a year, and I am not a fundraiser, and I am not a nonprofit person or a public health expert. I am operating with the power of my story, the power of the story of the women and the families that we serve, and for the people that are investing, which range from individuals like Serena Williams and Alexis Ohanian to companies like SoFi, who unlocked almost over $500,000 at launch because they saw the value of what we're doing.
Sorry to cut you off. Kay, do you have a response for the?
You've invested in so many companies.
Elaine, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think, you have to really focus on partnerships that you can develop. It's very difficult to go alone, but if you can find a partner for your business, not just an investor, but a partner for your business to help you scale through. We often do this in Fashion Tech Lab, which we run on, it says retail tech, and it's really for the companies to find those big other retail companies that they're doing technology for. Does this work for your company? Can I do a pilot with you? This is very important to get scale information and get the direct, unvarnished feedback from the market you're trying to enter. So I would suggest partnerships.
And
Come and talk to Kate Luzio. Raise your hand, Kate. Kate is the queen of partnerships before you go.
I'm so sorry we are out of time, and that's the only reason I cut you off. I'm so sorry about that.
Just to finish my thought, what I was saying is that we have, even though we are a social justice platform and that we're nonprofit, we have the influence of really big partners that see the value in maternal health care and that would understand the intersection between what you're doing and what we're doing. And I do think partnerships is the way to move your business forward. And so just because we're a nonprofit doesn't mean that we can't be a really additive, valuable partner for you. So that's what I wanted to say. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk later.
Thank you so much, everyone.